Oh, Lord.
I call this meeting of the airport committee to order at 8 minutes past 3 on the afternoon of October the 11th. On the agenda, we have sale of property at the industrial park and a task order, stormwater management basin design. And with that, I will turn it over to our town manager.
All right, guys. We have, and I have before you, an executed copy of a real estate option that was executed between the town and UAV Pro for the purchase price of between 5 and 8 acres of land at the town's industrial property. I don't know the better term, airport or whatever we call that, the airport property. And the agreed upon price, $5,700 per acre. If you remember, there was some back and forth in one of our committee meetings. Council did authorize execution of this, and we signed it, and he paid the $500 for that. Joe has written us a letter that I believe is included in your packet. It's a fairly brief correspondence that says, of course, I, Joe Allman of UAV Pro, wish to exercise my option to purchase 8 acres of the town of Blackstone Airport Industrial Park. Therefore, what I intend on doing is for the November council meeting, it's too late for October. I talked to Tessie this morning, I said, surplus and public hearing to sell, surplus and public hearing to sell, okay? So we probably need to have a public hearing to move forward with this. I say probably, Tessie confirmed that we need to have a public hearing.
Sure.
So it is time for the wheels of bureaucracy to start moving, and I would like for the committee to recommend going out to public hearing to sell up to 8 acres. You're asking for the full 8 acres, and I think Sam may have some questions
I
about it.
do. Mr. Tomlin. What the hell, Joe? Why are you electing for that full 8 acres? Before you said 5 to 8 acres. I think was in our conversation. And I'm not objecting, mind you. I'm just wondering why you are using your option for the entire 8 acres.
We bought almost 5 acres the first go around,
Mm-hmm.
and we're already need to buy more. This project's gonna take up the majority probably of, I don't have the site plan, 3 to 4 acres. We've also got 3 acres of rolling stock parked on a lot over at, on 10th Street, next to the 10th Street warehouse that we're gonna vacate. And I've got to go somewhere with that that's secure. So we're not, if you're asking, you're not asking, but I'll tell you, at this time, we're not looking to speculate on the property. We're not buying it because we have somebody else that we can resell it to. We're strictly buying it because we think we need the overflow.
Well, that answers my question. How about you folks? You got any questions on this? Because it, you know, we certainly want you to have what you need or what you want to buy. But on the other hand, we just soon retain ownership for somebody else along the line, if that's
I understand.
makes sense to the town, you know. That was the reasoning for our question. But my question's answered.
Do you guys think, and I personally think, it makes some sense to do some surveying up there and to have a survey of what he's buying, because we want to retain that 60-foot strip on the far western side. We've done that to start with. If you remember when we sold Joe's property the first time, we retained a 60-foot strip which would be adequate to build a public road if ever necessary. At this point, and it could be used for a taxiway if there are ever planes there. But I think we probably need to have a survey conducted of the property as well.
I think we need to look at a strip on the east side as well. You've got
Where all the utilities are?
You've got utilities easement there, and
You don't want to buy the utility?
well, I'm not saying I don't want to. I think that you and I can sit down and do what we think makes sense, because it doesn't matter to me whether I go long or it doesn't matter.
What he's talking about is along the fence where the railroad is, if you're familiar with it. Electricity, communications lines, everything runs along parallel to that fence. And the council had authorized it, and we didn't sell it to them, we didn't get it, we didn't buy it, But there was a Connex Telecom easement, and Southside Electric also has an easement along the western side of that fence for the utilities to go down to. Electric and telecom, is there anything else in there?
I don't think the sewer runs down the western side.
That's right, we
So I
put that
think
in.
it's just three-phase power from south side, and the fiber runs down that fence. And it may also be an appropriate way. Airports have manned side and aircraft side. If you ever know you go to the airport, you park on one side, the planes are on the other side of the building. That's the way airports are. So for future development, you might want cars parking on the west side with a road to get to all the individual parking lots for businesses, and then aircraft on the west side with a taxiway to get to the backside of the businesses. So it just makes sense for the town to retain some way to get to the full length of the property from both sides. So I would say that you and I can sit down and sketch that out and figure out what looks right.
Well, I think a survey is necessary in order to describe the property being sold in a deed. Barbara did the other thing. Having a deed with a Schedule A that has the description, instead of just saying a portion of property sold to the town in 1989, it would have an actual description. As prepared by Jeff Lavelle or B&B Consultants on a plat survey dated November 1st, 2017. And I don't know if the cost of a survey is addressed in this option.
I didn't see it.
I don't remember if we addressed. Not see anything that addresses the cost of the survey. Well, it says the seller authorizes the buyer and buyer's agents, employees invite you to enter the property for the purpose of making inspections, tests, surveys, and other studies. Hmm? That's a different document. Yeah, we're looking at the actual sale. I don't think it specifically says who's paying for the survey. I don't hear Joe jumping up and down saying he'd be more than happy to do it, so I think maybe we should address that at some point.
I will tell you that we could probably partner in it because I've got to have some survey work done anyway. And so, to mobilize.
Would you be willing to split 50-50?
I think what would be appropriate was to look at what survey work that I require, mobilize the crew one time, look at what's required for this sale, and split the portion of the sale. I don't need you to kind of pay for half the survey work that's not related to the sale. So,
Half the survey work that's related to the boundary
yes.
calculation.
Pay half. That seems fair.
And we didn't talk about this ahead of time. No, we're just trying to address issues, but I'd like to get the survey work done because I think we're gonna need it.
That sounds reasonable, and we need to get it surveyed. What you think, Sam?
I have no objection to it at all.
I will say some of it's already surveyed because he's bought the property adjacent to it fairly recently, so they can use that marking and just move on down.
I make a motion to that effect.
Yes, the survey would be, the boundary survey, not survey for buildings or any of that other additional work, but the boundary survey for the purpose of preparing the deed would be split 50-50.
So
Agree
moved.
with that? And that you would recommend that the council authorize public hearing? Because I can't get to them this week, I mean, it's just too short notice. So that we would hold it to November council meeting, public hearing for the disposal of the property.
Now,
Got one
that's-
motion?
Is that,
Yes,
that's
that's one
not
motion.
what Joe just got through saying?
Pardon?
That is not exactly what Joe got through saying a minute ago.
Portion of the survey that's required to prepare the deed,
We would split
we
50-50.
would split the cost of that.
His other surveying work, for whatever purpose, getting elevations and grades or whatever, that's 100% his.
That's on him.
So the town is saving the 50%, plus they're saving probably the mobilization.
Do it all at the same time.
I'm clear on it now.
Okay.
Well, I was clear before, I think.
Your half would be a very small part of the larger picture.
All right. Moving on to item number 2. I'm just gonna take some thinking
I
aside.
think we probably need to have a vote, don't we?
Oh, I thought you got it. Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead.
All in favor of Barbara's motion to split the survey costs with Joe Almond, on the boundary lines of the new property. I guess, is that correct? Please indicate. Lee?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0.
And we're good on the advertising? I can bring that to Kim? You good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 2, and this is more thinking, this is me ciphering. I have here for you a task report. Okay? One of the things, and I'm gonna preach a little bit, y'all tell me to be quiet if I'm overstepping. One of the things that I had found with projects like Goodwill and UAV Pro, the first phase, one of the things that's holding up development, Frankie Williamson's apartment complex over here on Lester Street, you know, that thing's been approved for 70-some units, is the stormwater. Stormwater and the regulations that are in place now are either cost prohibitive or you can't even get a direct answer from DEQ what exactly the requirements are for stormwater. Okay, Goodwill struggled with it, Joe struggled with it, Frankie's struggling with it now. What we have now at the industrial park is Joe has built a single stormwater detention pond, is that the proper term? Okay, for his initial facilities where those 2 buildings that he initially built. Okay, what I would like to do, and what this task order represents, is to take the residue of the property, including the property that Joe has purchased and is intending to purchase, and build one stormwater facility. It would handle all of ours and all of Joe's. Am I saying it's 100% cost-free to Joe? I'm not saying that. But I am saying, instead of us having a separate stormwater detention for 4 or 5 properties, I'd like to have one stormwater detention facility. Okay? And I'm recommending that we take the lead in designing and doing the study, the calculations that are required, and have one stormwater facility, just like we have at the industrial park behind the bus shop. There's a great big old lake back there. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And the town maintains it. When Jason Walker bought his property, we had to certify to DEQ. Remember he had that borrow pit where he put all the dirt in the bridge? That came out of the industrial park. That entire bridge was built with dirt that Jason Walker bought from us in the land, and he sold to VDOT and they put it in the road. Very smart. Okay? But the detention pond that serves that area is on town property. Okay? What I'd like to do is have a common stormwater, and I don't know the proper term. The detention facility is a treatment.
It's a detention, it's a stormwater collection facility.
There you go. Stormwater collection facility.
That'll be on all.
And we would retain that ownership so we don't sell it next time. We own it, we maintain it, we've got it, okay? But that way, when someone comes to me, maybe not Joe, maybe one of Joe's friends who wants to build something else out there, come to me and said, water, check. Sewer, check. Good road, check. We're getting the road resolved, okay? Telecom, check. Electric, check. Stormwater. Add 9 months to the 6 months. Joe went through it. I haven't been through it, but I watched it with Goodwill and it was ugly. I watched it to a degree with Joe and it was ugly. And he can tell you the experience, but I want to put everybody into one pond, just like the industrial park, and that I can tell folks, we can sell you that land. Town council can sell that property to you in 60 days. Not, it's going to take 60 days to design it, another 90 days.
Joe, I
to
want
get
to ask you a
approval
question.
and all that.
What did it cost you to put in that retention pond in planning, work, property?
I don't know the exact figure because it was folded into the prime contract bid. But I know that in delays and what it did to my time frame, it was very detrimental to me. But in actual cost for the site work, it might have been $50,000 to $100,000, but all of that was rolled into a prime contract, and I don't want to mislead you. The bigger challenge was we got an interim grading permit to start construction from the county, and we notified DEQ that's what we were doing in writing. And then we started moving dirt, and the DEQ inspector sent me a certified letter saying I was in violation of stormwater management because I'd started moving dirt and I was subject to being fined like $20,000 a day. And I called him and I said, sir, I notified you in writing. And he goes, oh, well, you did. We shouldn't have approved that. And then when we couldn't figure out they wouldn't approve the storm plan, sir, can you tell me what we need to do? No, I can't tell you. Well, who can tell me? You have to get a stormwater management engineer. Well, I have one. Well, we don't like his design. What don't you like about it? We can't tell you. It went on for months and months and months and months. And my contracts are time sensitive. If I don't have an occupancy permit within a certain number of months, I can lose my customers. So I ended up having to go to Richmond, get some help out of the governor's office. It was very, very difficult to work with. What's important to note is, to add on to what Philip said, there's two components of stormwater management as I understand them, and I'm not a stormwater management engineer. I'm just kind of experienced just enough to probably be dangerous. You have to collect stormwater, and you have to treat it. If you build a pond, like you have at the industrial park, you're just collecting it. So most industrial parks figure where the runoff's gonna go, they build a big retention pond to keep the water from leaving the property. Then when you put a building on it, you have to tell them how you're gonna treat it. So the little things that we used to treat that soak the water up with the little gravel runoffs and all that, you have to pay for all that. You have to pay for the engineering and the design, and then it has to go to DEQ and this treatment. Or you can buy stormwater credits, which means you can buy your way out of it, and you can go to them and say,
And that may very well be cheaper. That's what we talked a little bit about earlier. We may be able to build a big hole, let everything go in there, and instead of treating it, we can buy the credits from a stormwater bank. I used to do this in my previous life with my previous employer. We did stream credits and wetland credits, and we did all those different credits.
credits are $16,000 an acre for an individual project. So you collect it, and then you treat it. I'm optimistic that if we go to DEQ and we say, the industrial park where we're building already collects it, which is what town manager is proposing, that when you come behind that with a plan to treat it, because it's not an intricate plan with, where they have to come out and do core samples. I mean, it's you're paying one engineer after another engineer after another engineer. I don't have anything against engineers, but there's about 9 of them in a DEQ chain. And you cut all those out and you say, we're just gonna buy our stormwater credit. I'm hoping it's a paperwork review where they say yes.
And what I'm trying to do is take the bureaucracy on our shoulders so that an individual business doesn't have to go through the bureaucracy.
Most businesses like mine look for a place where you don't have to do stormwater management. Why do you think people are renovating old properties? If you go in and you tear down a building that already has impermeable surface, you don't have to do it. You get to count 80% of what's already there. The county property next to the town has enough asphalt there that I wouldn't need stormwater management, or very, very little. There would be nothing to do there. And so when you're looking at properties like me, I'm going, this burden, and when I finish this project, I told Philip, I'm not doing another one if I have to deal with DEQ. I backed off that. I feel a little better now. It's been a year, you know, kind of getting over it,
But I do think we have allies, either with the state, either tobacco commission. Here's what I think. I think we can find different sources, perhaps, to help us pay for things. VDOT, not so good. We tried that with the road, not so much. We tried Department of Aviation for the road, not so much. There were obligations and commitments that were infeasible. But I do think we can go back, and what the Department of Aviation told us, we don't support paying for the road because they felt like it was for a single project. And they told Joe, told me. But this is a communal project, and we will attempt with the Department of Aviation, certainly, maybe Tobacco Commission, but that's kind of governed by the county a bit, whether we can go back and try to find some of this construction money. I'm not asking you to build it just right now. I'm asking for the calculations to be conducted and the design to be done for the full property.
What size do you think it's gonna take?
Size, if we don't have to treat it, I think you're just talking about a pretty good sized pond.
you know where that low spot is where all the trees grow?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where.
I think it, now, the only thing there is you got a water line in close to, in the vicinity of that low ground, you got a water line running through there. It may dictate, and I don't know, I'm just speculating, it may dictate moving some water line one side or the other, but I think you're gonna put in, you probably, I guess, half-acre pond. If you look at the pond over there at the industrial park, and these are 1980s rules, that's a nice sized pond, that's something you would fish in.
What'll happen is if you don't have a master collection plan for the park, you're gonna end up with the repeat of what I had to do the first time.
4 times.
You're gonna end up with little ponds all over it, because you have to collect the water. You can't buy a stormwater credit and just do nothing. You have to collect the runoff. So you're gonna end up with everybody that buys property is gonna buy twice as much as they need, because they've gotta have, what they want is they want the water to sheet across the grass and just soak in. So if you buy enough, you don't have to, they just, oh yeah, if you buy 100 acres and you only gonna disturb 3 acres of ground and the ground perks good, they say, well, you don't need anything, because it's all gonna sheet across there and soak in, and that's perfect, that's how they want it. That's not an industrial park. Industrial park, if you're successful, or when you're successful, will have business after business after business after business, and you can't have a 3-acre pond between each business. I mean, you can. We already made that mistake once. I'd like to fill in the one we have, but I don't know if we'll be able to do that. But
Yeah, I can't swear that that'll be possible because the grade.
yeah, the water runs the wrong way. So,
If we can do that, that would be included in it, but
But I mean, it'd be big enough so if we build, if somebody else was coming along,
to use that one he's got?
no.
add on, another business comes out there. Do we have to go through this all over?
No, we wanna do it one time and that's it.
Okay.
The treatment is the wild card. We're gonna build, my intention would be to build a pond, and I don't know how big, I don't know how expensive. I just wanna do the design now, and then have B&B come back and say, well, you're looking at a $40,000 hole, you're looking at a $50,000 hole, you're looking at a $60,000, whatever it is. Then we gotta make some decisions on cost, and hopefully we can find some partnership through Economic Development Partnership or somebody that can help us do that. I don't have the money right now. We've committed our money, the majority of our money, to the road, you know? And that was at or around, and a little less actually than $100,000. We've committed that. I can tell you our airport fund today has about $160,000. That's from selling gas. Now, if we sell that land to Joe, we're gonna have $200,000 to work on.
Is the land, is the money that Joe pays for this land, is that restricted in the Air Force funds?
I put it in the airport.
I said, is it?
I think the Department of Aviation would consider yes. Yeah,
Revenue from the airport.
yeah. Their
Well, that's
opinion
not
is-
revenue, is it?
You sell something, it's revenue. IRS thinks it is.
I put the sale of his first,
Yeah, I know you did.
that's in the airport. fund.
Yeah, I know that.
That's part of that $160,000.
I reviewed that very, very closely.
So I want to come back to you with good data. I can't promise we can build it. Shit, if they come back,
Well-
if they come back, it's $200,000, we got a problem, right? We gotta think, we gotta
Yeah,
figure.
problem.
Say,
I want to, I want to express an opinion that it has some doubts in it, but they're just as unfounded as your cost out.
I don't know what the construction costs are. But I gotta find out.
All right. And it wouldn't affect Joe because Joe's already got an option on his property.
Well, it doesn't affect you.
No, what I'm about to say.
Okay.
If we spend the $20,000 that it appears it was gonna cost to have the engineering work done, or the study done on this retention pond, what does that do to the value of the rest of the property that we, how many acres are left after Joe gets his?
10, 10, 12 maybe?
What we say, hit 17 acre? Yeah, about 10 acres. Hit about 10 acres.
Do we take a pro rata share of our total cost of this retention pond and add it into the retail value of that property that's yet to be sold? And instead of Joe getting property for $5,000 or $6,000 an acre, somebody will be paying $12,000 or $13,000 an acre.
The property you'll have left will be road frontage, and my opinion as a businessman is if I roll onto an industrial park and you have fiber, 3-phase power, telecommunications, or I said fiber, and, you have all that, the property becomes more valuable. Not only that, you can market your industrial park in the state database, and you can say, so when somebody goes in, we want to be within 10 miles of an airport, we want to have these requirements. There's a 4-inch main going across there, you got good water out there, they can go. I believe it would be more marketable. How much more, I don't know, but as expensive as stormwater management is, I would think if you're buying 5 acres or less, it would be worth considerably.
Well, that was my first gut feeling.
I'm not opposed to that. I just don't know what the cost is.
Well, I don't either, and I just want, we are so easy. Well, when it comes time to sell something, we all get together and decide we just sell it. You're dealing with a bunch of novices, myself included. And, sometimes this thought process, I don't think it's always adhered to.
I would agree. I mean, on properties this small, whether you make $1,000 or $5,000, I think the real value is when you walk in these restaurants downtown at lunch and you see 4 or 5 of my employees in every restaurant downtown. That's all, and if they move here and buy houses, property taxes, meals taxes, that's what you want to do, is you want to grow the community. If you were selling a 10,000 acre farm, you're talking about real money then. On the 18 acres, or even when we started with 20 acres, it was marketable land. I think you really, I think long-term, what's the long-term revenue source? A long-term revenue source is having businesses out there with employees in.
Well, I think at this point, I'm not totally against it, but I'm not totally convinced either on this, $20,000 expenditure. I'd like to listen to my colleagues' opinion and what they think.
Well, to tell you the truth, I really don't know enough about it to discuss it. I rely on the town manager's
I
opinion.
truly believe, I mean, we can break some of this out. They've got it itemized, $12,000 for the study. Geotech, which is soil quality, soil type, $7,000, and wetland delineation is $2,500. I think they all dovetail together and they all make sense to do at the same time. I can see if there's some savings here, but in thinking about it, I'm convinced that the one thing that I cannot tell a prospective business is that we got the stormwater done. We just don't. Okay. You look at our industrial park over here next to Babs. We got stormwater now. That's all taken care of. But we got no power. And they quoted us almost $300,000 to run 3-phase power over there. We got the town's got 3-phase power running through the middle of the park. That industrial park is not an industrial park anymore. Okay? Unless you get somebody who's got a massive demand for power that could justify the expense of running the line to it. I'm committed and convinced that we need to do a common communal stormwater plan. Can I do a little better than 20? Maybe, yeah, and call B&B and see if I can get it down or whatever. But I'm convinced that we need to do this because after watching Goodwill, Joe and Frankie Williamson, nothing good is coming out of this. And the individual guy had a heck of a lot harder time than the communal efforts of a council and Nottaway County and our Congress or delegation or whatever. It literally takes that kind of political push to do the job that DEQ is paid to do. Give you an answer.
It's very difficult.
It's daunting, man. I've been on the private side. It's scary when you walk into that office and have all those guys look at you, Department of Conservation, Recreation, all those kinds of things with these conservation easements and all that sort of thing. It's very intimidating. And I can see if I can get a little something out of D&B before the council meeting, but I do think a communal stormwater project is important to the industrial park. I'm convinced of that, and I can tell you I believe that wholeheartedly. Not to belittle what Sam said, but I think it's the one thing that we don't have out there. It helps Joe, sure it helps Joe. It also helps us, and it also makes more property available to do things on instead of building ponds. It just doesn't make sense to me to build multiple stormwater facilities. It makes sense to build one stormwater facility and let everybody access it. So, we have some revenue to do it. Do I think we have enough if we build the road and commit this 20? I don't think we got enough money to build everything, but I do think we have the makings of putting some money together.
I can tell you that because my issues are time sensitive, stormwater management right now is more important than road.
Oh yeah, we're literally with the road, what we're doing, we're hanging tight on the road. For the simple fact is, if he's gonna do his project, and Joe pointed this out to me, let's make sure the grades are, that we don't
Make
build
sure
the road and find out you got.
Terminate.
Yeah, we want them both to interface with each other, so.
It'll be a year, we'll probably, if we stay on schedule, and we're not on schedule, we're behind, it'll be June or July of next year before we occupy. We've got a bunch of sanity checkpoints in the interim to make sure the project's gonna move forward, and this stormwater management's one, it's a tough one, so, my site work and my design. There's gonna be some dovetails because I've gotta do stormwater management for some of the property that the building is on and figure all that. That may
Well,
dovetail into your work and save some money.
I think the real difference, Joe, is when we got to 31 acres out there, there was 31 acres, is that correct?
That's what the town was given in exchange
Alright.
for stuff back in the 80s.
It is entirely different than the acreage that was given to the county.
Yeah, I think so.
Excuse me. The county was able to sell theirs, divide it, and they put that money in their treasury. We can do the same thing, but we have to put our money back into the same thing that we sold. It has to go back into the airport. So there's a difference. The county got their money, the town can't have theirs.
Well, another,
The only advantage that we get, you mentioned earlier, is down the road, is count the number of people in our restaurants. And the homes and this, what does it do to the town as far as a community boost?
it does, it's not a big cash influx because of fuel sales, but on the other hand, 2 points. The stormwater management task order that the town manager has there is for the entire 31 acres, less my 5 because it's already been done. So the airport layout plan calls for an apron expansion. When you start covering up that grass with asphalt, you have to have a stormwater management plan for that.
It is for the full 31 acres.
So anything you want to put anything at the airport that covers anything up, you got to have a stormwater management plan. The
Well,
first one, they say if you cover up more than an acre, you got to have it. But after the first one, anything else you do, they say it's part of that first part because it's all the airport. This plan will take care of when you do your apron expansion in the future and as the airport grows. And an airport as an accoutrement to a growing community is an important thing. And it's hard for people that aren't in aviation to see the value, but communities grow and gravitate around healthy airports. It's just what they do. But you're right, the cash flow from fuel sales or for property sales has to be reinvested in that asset the town owns called the airport. So you don't lose it, you just lose control over distributing it. In the rest.
It has no municipal value.
It has value to the extent that the
That's
airport's
right.
valuable.
You can't put that money in the bank and use it on a water line downtown,
That's right.
or a fire hydrant, or,
But a more half glass full way to look at that is that right now that money and that investment is supporting the only industry that's come to this town that I can think of.
Well,
Since I've been here in 1995, so it's positive.
I don't think anybody's against that. I'm just pointing
I
out
understand.
that there is a difference. And the big difference is, if somebody comes out there and buys the remaining, how many acres you say, 8, 10?
About 10. It's
10 acres.
still in that 8, 9, 10,
And you will have bought a total of
12.
12 or so.
12 and a half, yes, sir.
Is the value of your property worth less or more than their property? Or should their property cost extremely more than yours?
I think the road frontage property, which is what's gonna be left, is worth more. I think the taxiway property, which I've already bought, is worth a little bit more. This property in
I'm
the middle
talking about
is worth
virtue
less.
of having the dream permit.
It's worth more.
And, instead of saying $5,000 to $10,000 an acre, which was the range, all right? Is it $20,000 an acre?
But I've seen some bad appraisal work over the past few years, and, with comps that didn't apply. And I think we fly blind a little bit sometimes when we do it. If you don't have a lot of comps and everything's based on comps, in Southside Virginia, I can tell you, it's tough being an appraiser because there's not a lot of industrial sales in industrial comps. And you're flying a little blind. I mean, you set the market every time you sell a piece of property. That is your comp. The county selling land, you guys selling land out there, that is.
We're talking about spending 20 grand about up front, then turning around and trying to find somebody to help us with the cost of building the retention pond
Hopefully,
itself.
yeah, hopefully we get somebody to.
All right, so I don't know what the retention pond would cost you, but suppose we got a 50-50 with somebody, all right?
Not unreasonable.
We would have quite a bit of money to subdivide between 10 acres to pass that cost on
If you
to
were
the
gonna
people
be-
who are gonna benefit from
If
it.
you're gonna make yourself fully whole, yeah, I mean, it's gonna.
Well, if you don't make yourself fully whole, you're giving the property away.
Well, some communities do that, because they believe the revenue source from the people moving here and living here and buying gas here and buying groceries here and paying taxes here, the long-term gain, there's value in that.
Well, that may be the interest, I'm talking about the recovery. The recovery of the cost, not the interest on the money you owe.
Well, I'm not suggesting that it's the appropriate measure, I'm just saying there have been communities that discount property or give property away to give businesses to come. It's not
Well-
unheard of, because the value of having right now, I have a big thing with the state about how many actual jobs we have. This morning I counted, I have 54 people on the ground. Those 54 people are spending money here, eating here, and there's value in that, that's my point. Do I think you should give property away? No, sir, I don't think so. I
Well,
think-
everybody here, is probably better equipped to value this than I am. I do it, this is not my expertise at all. The only thing I have is a mind that will question.
Sure, sure.
I think $5,700 an acre, which was the option price here, certainly is a floor. I certainly there's no less than that. You set that comp, so.
It's a little, if the community were to say, Joe, UAV Pro, if you buy this property, you have no stormwater management issues. No matter what you build, you don't have to deal with DEQ. The property values would go through the roof, because DEQ is very expensive. So it's probably, well, you know what it is, just to design it, $20,000, just to design it. Spread that over your 10 acres. So, but the problem is, we're not right there. What we're doing is collecting all the stormwater. You still gotta treat it. So if the town elects not to do that part, it's still gonna cost me $40,000 to buy the credits to treat it. So it's not a whole solution, you know, it's kinda convoluted the way they do it. I think the stormwater retention, my opinion is, and I have a dog in this race, so everybody recognize that, the stormwater retention for an industrial park needs to be a community pond. You can't have every business having their own pond. It looks like a bombing range out there, you know?
That's what we're trying to do.
We
How
made
do
a
we recoup
mistake
the
when
cost?
we built the first one. We shouldn't have done that. We partnered on the sewer. Everything went well, and that pond came up, they told us we didn't need a pond at first. And then it kind of evolved into a pond, and now we got this pond out there. Now the state's mad because we have a pond, because guess what? They don't want standing water in the airport. So,
It tracks birds.
so, as a business person, I just want to run my business and do this project. I'm frustrated with stormwater management, so, that's where I'm at with that.
I'd like to do a communal stormwater effort. $20,000 tells us how much. We have the money set aside. It's not as though we're using, this is straight up gas sales, straight up gas money. And the military purchasing gas is what's paying for it. And I think we need to do it. I think we need to find a way. Can I get it down to 18,000? Can I beat them up a little bit? Yeah, think
I don't think, it's not the, I'm not looking at the actual cost it's just, I don't know enough to feel very comfortable.
Well, I think sadly, you gotta pay to know more. And I can't advise you, is it gonna be 40, is it 50? Are we selling credits? I just don't know.
I just think, well, and that's the reason I asked Joe the question a little while ago. The fact that he's got this last 8 acres and an option now, and that's his. It's gonna be his. If we build if a retention pond becomes a reality, how much money does Joe save by virtue of already having an option on the property, as opposed to having to get?
If he doesn't have to spend anything on stormwater, and I'm not saying that's the deal.
Well, I'm not sure either,
I'm just saying what I wanna do is be a leader in the issue. We may have to come to Joe and say, you need to buy some credits, or we need to buy some credit. Hopefully, we get Department of Aviation to find a way to get out from under all that. Is it gonna save Joe some money? I suspect so, yeah.
Well, I hope it does, you know, well, we all do.
That's part of the deal. That's not my motivation. My motivation is the other 9 acres over there.
Well, my motivation is, what is my responsibility to the taxpaying citizen of the town and being the steward of their money? And I feel very incompetent in the fact that I don't have enough personal knowledge to even ask good questions sometimes about it.
You know, we get along because I'm very conservative like you are, and I'm a Ronald Reagan guy. And he always said, you know, government's job is to create an environment that's conducive to good business. And that industrial park right now is not conducive to good business because it does not have communal stormwater retention. Can I make it work without it? You know, I can put a big pond on the end of that 8 acres, and the next guy can come put one behind it, but it's probably gonna mess up your property for the next guy. You know, I can pivot, and I haven't had any negotiations with anyone else, but I can pivot, and because I don't want to. My customer wants the building there, I want the building there. We have a great partnership. We've done good work up to now, but I can pivot to other property. It's not my intention. But I think the property would definitely be more valuable, to answer your question.
Well, I think it does. The question goes back to the difference that I laid down between what we get out of it and what the county gets out of their property. The fact that everything that we do at that airport has to pour right back into there. We can't take a penny of that out of it.
No, but again, because of what you've done up to now, you have revenue coming out of that airport. They're just in indirect sources. You didn't have any revenue coming out of the airport before. Now you have the revenue from those 50 or 60 people that are out there every day, which you didn't have before. So you have indirect sources of revenue.
Well,
When you look, and if you look at the town's budget, the meals tax and those sources of revenues are big items compared to real estate sales. They're big numbers.
oh, I'm so much aware of it.
Yeah,
I look at the finance figures.
I appreciate you want to figure out, we spend the money, how we getting the money back, and what's the return on the money.
That's right.
And I wish I could tell you that when you resell the rest of the property be worth enough more that not only will you return all your money, but you'll make a little money. But I don't know that to be true. I can tell you it's certainly more valuable. But I also want to continue to point out that these indirect revenue sources that are out there are important.
Well, I'm just sorry we don't have more property out there to do something with.
Me
really.
too. Me too.
It's a good problem to have, but it's a question. It's a problem that makes you ask yourself some questions.
And the challenge, the frustration with not being able to remove revenue from the airport, it's a curse on one hand and a blessing on another, because you don't have to, if you want to spend money at the airport, you don't have to take it away from something else. You know, so we don't have not competing with the ball field or the armory, you know, all these things. It's segregated, so when you want to do an airport project, it's cleaner, but it's frustrating as a finance guy that you can't manage that revenue source.
Well, I don't have a recommendation to make at this point. I think we need some more information, and I'm not sure that you feel that way, do you?
I do not feel that way. I feel like we've got to proceed in some form or fashion, one, or two, to get you the information you need. I don't know, man. I can't tell you it's gonna cost X number of dollars. This is $20,000 that'll go toward design, so it's usable. You're not throwing the money away.
Just listening.
Well, help me out some. I'm struggling, and I'm trying to make sense, and I'm trying to do the right thing for the council and for the town, and I'm floundering.
I can see your point on this. I can see Joe and Philip's point on
Oh, I do too.
this. And the only way we were really gonna find out exactly what it's gonna cost us
Is to spend the money.
is to spend the money.
You sound like Pelosi. Let's pass the bill and find out what's in it.
Well, I'm gonna be Pelosi too. I'm gonna make a recommendation that we trust Philip's judgment on this.
And if he can get it down a little lower than 20,000,
But irregardless, this 20 is not thrown away.
It's gonna come out of the airport.
No, the airport
That's right.
definitively pays for it, gas sales, but it's also gonna give us a plan, even if it doesn't bear fruit and we don't, whatever, we're still gonna have this stormwater, and this designs it. This doesn't just give us a study and tell us, it actually does the topography and it does everything else that needs to be done out there. So we're ready to go when we've got,
Okay.
I'll say it's shovel ready, if that's a bad term that we hear on TV. But I firmly believe we need to have this part of the industrial park ready to roll. Sorry, I don't have more information for you, but I gotta find out.
If you don't do this, then you have little ponds all over the place.
I don't think that's a good thing to have more.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
Joe said the pond that he's got stays. It would be my intention that one, we do away with that sucker too, if we can make it all communal, okay? If there's a way we can figure out without burning up a site where we may wanna put hangars in the future or something like that, everything's pretty tight out there. There's not a plethora of land down there. But if we can somehow even incorporate what he's got with a communal, or maybe we buy an easement, or we acquire an easement on the pond that he's got, and we can use that area as he's getting that 8 acres more, because it's dead land to him. Paying taxes on, maybe we can incorporate this into our communal.
What's the problem?
You know, I don't know. But my intention would be for the whole property. And maybe a best case scenario is what he's got in that mud hole now with the cattails, maybe that's part of our communal, and we can handle it with an easement on that property, okay? Because it's useless land. I mean, you can't do it. Might as well dump some serious water in that thing, okay? But I don't know, okay? I've got lots of ideas, but I'm not the engineer. I can't tell you.
I can tell you for certain, though, for the first time in a long time, the airport and the town are positioned to take advantage of state funds to improve the airport. Whether it's a 10% match for county match for fencing, or a 20% match for a tarmac, I don't remember what all the percentages were, but the state program is pretty generous. They're not gonna let you put down tarmac without stormwater management plan. So if I don't use it, you're gonna be able to use it for your own infrastructure because it's coming. The DEQ is rolling over everything. They're not covering up any grass without stormwater. It's a necessary evil.
Let's trust his judgment, Mr. Sam.
Well, we do and I do. But it doesn't relieve me of the responsibility to raise the question.
I second Ms. Thompson's motion.
Well, let's put it in the form of a motion.
She did.
Well, no, I don't like that motion.
Well, you,
No.
well, you must say you make,
That's a little on the broad side. So
well, you make the motion then.
I make a motion that we instruct the town manager to arrange for, let me start over. I make a motion that we bring a motion to the council, or recommendation to the council, that we pay for the engineering to the tune of $25,000,
20,000, you can cap it. Motion be capped.
$20,000 for a storm drainage system at the airport to be paid for out of airport funds. And at that point, we'll leave it for further information as to what we do.
Okay, go ahead.
Look for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we've got, last thing very quickly, and this is all gobbledygook to me. There's an inspection report that was sent by the FAA to Captain Jason Simmelchick. Okay? You will have to look at it, but I made a copy available to you guys, it came in the mail. And please, let's refer the questions to Jeff, because he'll have to decipher it for me, because I really don't know what too terribly much of it means. But it says including 2 copies of the annual technical inspection report for the AMOS 3 facility.
I perused that before the meeting.
This is his phone line.
It's the weather system that's out there.
Yeah, it's, so when a pilot flies in an airplane, you can tune the weather up on the radio. They also rebroadcast it. You can get it via your smartphone, iPad. And back in the day before cell phones, everybody would call in a landline and you'd get a recording of the weather. Our land, we don't have a landline anymore. So when the guy came to inspect it, and this is what the inspector told me, this is the extent of my knowledge. I haven't looked this up, read it anywhere, this is just what the guy inspecting it told me. I said, how's it going? He said, it passed. I said, well, it passed, we don't have a phone line. He goes, you're not required to have a phone line to pass the inspection. I said, okay, great. In every other capacity it works, you can get access from the airplane. Did they make it? I didn't see a recommendation in there, I just saw, you don't have a phone line. So I
On
think
both
that's
pages, that's all it said.
just a notation that you don't have a phone line, but he told me it was not required and that the system passed inspection. Does it have a pass fail indication in there?
I agree.
I didn't see that. I would not encourage the town to go after a phone line. They have a new AWAS system out there that we think is going to be online fairly soon. We'll run them in tandem for 6 months to make sure the new one's going to work, and then we can go as a backup or somewhere.
Tell us what you think, and if you come up with something out of here, but I don't see,
They're not requiring any action,
Yeah,
asking
yeah,
for anything, are they?
I guess that takes care of the business we've got on the agenda.
4 o'clock meeting.
With that, if y'all don't have anything else you'd like to add, Barbara?
No.
Thank you all very much.
I can't leave.
Declare the meeting closed at 4 o'clock.
You on the next one?
Unfortunately, yes.
You're welcome to join.